So I'm standing in rain-streaked, blustery Liverpool, Labour Party conference, people pouring in behind me, and a lot of people are asking in politics, what's it really for? Is this not a kind of interruption, a pit stop to the real business of politics which happens at Westminster? I take a completely different view. I think there is something called the Labour family, and this is the Labour family gathering together. And for Keir Starmer, this is the audience that matters. This is the ultimate audience, and what he says in his speech here in Liverpool is going to really affect the rest of his year.
Very, very good to be here.
Now let's be absolutely clear, this conference has not begun in the way that Keir Starmer or Rachel Reeves or any of the rest of them would have hoped and wanted, because we've had all of these stories about taking free clothes and free spectacles and free shoes and free holidays and free this and free that, and when you are taking money from the poorest pensioners, this is not a good look.
Our Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves.
Thank you. Thank you.
And they have a big story to tell, a story I believe in, which is about rebuilding the country.
A Britain founded on the talent and the effort of working people. That is the Britain we're building. That is the Britain I believe in. Together, let's go and build it.
And it's going to take 10 years, and there's lots of announcements about planning and budgets and so forth around all of that. But you and I, we're never going to see the big picture if the little pictures, the bad headlines, the bad stories, the scandal stories are so big that they get in front of us first. So I think it is really important this week that Keir Starmer uses the most potent and dangerous word in politics, which is sorry. Not sorry that, not sorry if, but sorry. He doesn't need to grovel, but he needs to make it clear that he realises he and the people around him have made a big personal mistake in allowing their enemies in the press, this ferociously hostile right-wing media all around me here in Liverpool as well, the easy stories, the easy headlines, the easy kicking of this new Labour government. It did not have to be this way, and I think he has to apologise to the Labour family for it. But if ever there was a conference looking for the big picture, looking for a sense of direction, looking for a sense of hope, it's this one, because we have heard so much over the last few weeks about the £22 billion black hole, about the ruin of the economy, about the social rot spreading around the country, about every social and public service being on its knees or worse. And actually people now want to know, yeah, fine, we understand, we do blame the Conservatives, but what are you going to do? What is your direction? Where are you taking us? What is it all for? Now, I think the answer to that is relatively straightforward. It is, indeed, as Rachel Reeves would immediately say, it's about growth.
Stability paired with reform will forge the conditions for businesses to invest and for consumers to spend with confidence. Growth is the challenge, and investment is the solution.
Now, this is true not just for some dry economic statistical reason. It's true because without growth, societies shrivel and die. Everything goes. Without growth, you get different communities taking on each other. You get a lot of hatred pouring across the spectrum. Without growth, young people don't choose to have families, don't choose to have children if they can't afford a house, if they've got no prospect of a house. Without growth, so much else goes wrong. So growth is absolutely the core of this, and I think what the government now has to do is to attach everything else it does, every single policy, to that central spine of growth. But not just growth for its own sake. For the new Statesman this week, I've been looking back at the last two Labour conferences where a new Prime Minister, having just defeated the Conservatives after many, many years, comes in and makes his first pitch. And the two obvious examples are 1964, where they're a bit like this, blustery and wet and cold, in Brighton, when the relatively young Harold Wilson, he was only 48, came in and gave his first speech as a Labour Prime Minister. And then, of course, 1997, also in Brighton, when Tony Blair, the newly elected Tony Blair, came in and talked at his party conference.
I am deeply proud and privileged to stand before you as the new Labour Prime Minister of this country.
And if you're taking a lesson from those, what those two said were three things, really. They talked about hope, they talked about direction, and they talked about Tory blame. And we're going to hear all of those things, of course, I think, from Keir Starmer.
We may never again be the mightiest, but we can be the best.
Everybody says, Keir Starmer, he's got to be a better storyteller. He's got to be a better storyteller. And I rather agree. But the question is, okay, what is the story? It's all very well saying, be a better storyteller. Tell us about the story. So the story, fundamentally, is about growth and about rebalancing. And if we go back to what Keir Starmer said after the Grenfell Tower report, when he talked about the need for lots and lots of people to get their voice back in this country, to be taken seriously again, all those excluded groups, and he talked about the need for a general social rebalancing.
And in the memory of Grenfell, we will change our country. A rebalancing of power that gives voice and respect to every citizen, whoever they are and wherever they live.
Now, actually, new words, but that is a very traditional Labour message. So I think he has to, at the core of his speech, say, this is what it's all for. This is where I'm going to take you. This is the kind of country, growing again, optimistic again, opening out again, that I believe in and you believe in. Don't believe the headlines. I'm sorry about the distractions. I'm sorry about all of that, but here is what I'm going to do. Now, let's be straightforward. A distracted, irritable public has been losing any sense recently of what Keir Starmer's new Labour government is actually for, what its purpose is. Now, he cannot allow that drift. He cannot leave Liverpool with that still true.